Welcome back to Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'm bringing the match preview for our Saturday afternoon trip to the City Ground to face Nottingham Forest. Obviously, going to be a very tough test on Saturday afternoon against a very decent Nottingham Forest side, but it's an opportunity for us to restart our unbeaten streak. But nevertheless, we'll start with our hosts. And obviously, as I said before, Forest are a top side. They're in great form this season. We know that they've had an absolutely fantastic season. If you compare it to where they were this time last year, obviously scrapping around the bottom with ourselves, obviously in a relegation battle. Obviously, you can't wax lyrical enough of how well they've done this season and how far they've come and how far they've gone on leaps and bounds. But that being said, they sit third in the league on 57 points and in relatively decent form. They seem to be picking up points consistently, which is obviously something that you need at the bottom of the table, but something you need also if you're going to consolidate yourself in European football. Obviously, last weekend they took a trip to Villa Park and lost 2-1 in that game. They were a little bit unfortunate to lose that game, but that being said, I think we can take a little bit of confidence into that one, considering they were playing a Villa side that maybe had one eye on their Champions League tie with PSG in midweek, and obviously Forest coming away with a defeat there. I think it does bode well for us. It can give us a little bit of confidence that we can definitely get at them, but. Obviously, with Forest, they do have a squad that is packed with quality. The key players to look out for me is obviously Morgan Gibbs-White. I think he's a player with bags of ability, bags of confidence. He's playing so well this season, but it's not limited to Morgan Gibbs-White, in my opinion. Elliot Anderson is another player that we need to watch out for. He's an unsung hero, really, for Nottingham Forest, in my opinion. He seems to get the ball in midfield and be really progressive and drive forward with it. So, again, as I said before, Morgan Gibbs-White is maybe the one that a lot of people will look to and say that he's Forest's real danger man and the one that we really need to stop to get anything from the game. But I think Elliot Anderson as well. I think he's a top player. But it's not limited to them too. They have a relatively decent defense in Milenkovic and Murillo, and then obviously Matt Sells is having probably the season of his life in goal. And obviously all these players seem to be on a purple patch this year, which is why Forest are doing so well and find themselves on 57 points. But we'll stop talking about Forest now because you're not here to listen to me talk about Nottingham Forest. We'll focus on ourselves now, moving over to Everton, and we come off the back, come into this one off the back of a hard 4 point against Arsenal last weekend. The proceedings in midweek maybe make that point look even better than maybe it was at the time. Obviously, Arsenal beating Real Madrid 3-0 at the Emirates, but Bukayo Saka wasn't able to get past Nathan Patterson in that game, so. Maybe Everton, a better team than we might think, but at times I thought we were really solid against Arsenal. I think we deserved to come away with a point. Obviously, at times we were under the cosh a lot, but we dealt with it really well. As I said before, Nathan Patterson, I think he had a very good game at left back. Obviously deputising for Vitaly Mykolenko, who was injured. But it wasn't limited to him. I think Iliman Ndiaye had a top game. There was so many standout performances. You look at Tim Iroegbunam, I think he had an okay game. I kind of predicted him to come into the starting lineup before that Arsenal game, and obviously getting his chance from the start, which have been pretty scarce this season, particularly under the likes of Sean Dyche, but also David Moyes. I think he wants to sort of bed Tim Iroegbunam in quite slowly and get him really acclimatized to the Premier League. But I thought he did okay. Obviously, as I said before, in various videos, I think his cameo in the Merseyside derby was decent enough to earn him a start. So I think he did okay. But moving away from that now and looking at our current form, it suggests that we aren't losing away from home, but we're not winning either. We've only got one loss in the last 5 away games, but we've also got only 2 wins in the last 11 away games. So I think we're becoming a lot more hard to beat on the road. But can we just kind of turn those points into 3 points and maybe hope to get a little bit more wins on the road? Because certainly me as an away fan, I want to see us win more games on the road and get more 3 points and be singing Spirit of the Blues at half time and long after full time in those games. But as I said before, focusing on the players now, it was great to have Iliman Ndiaye back, as I said earlier. It was great to have him back in the side. Hopefully, Dwight McNeil is another player that can feature a little bit more in this game on Saturday. Obviously, we know how much he loves a trip to the City Ground, particularly last season in that very cold away game at the City Ground, the 5:30 on the Saturday. Obviously, Dwight McNeil's goal, the difference in that afternoon. But that brings us on quite nicely to the head-to-head for this one. And actually, before the defeat at Goodison in December under Sean Dyche, which actually ultimately it was Sean Dyche's last home game and ultimately cost him his job, really, but for the performance away down at Bournemouth. As I said before that defeat at Goodison, recent history against Nottingham Forest favoured us quite well, particularly since their return to the Premier League. I think it was, a draw under Frank Lampard in their first game, in the first game that they had back at Goodison, a 2-2 draw under Sean Dyche at the City Ground, and then last season, obviously, as I've mentioned, Dwight McNeil's very, very good half volley to sink Nottingham Forest in that one and give us the victory away from home 1-0. And also, you look at this time last year as well, scrapping around with Nottingham Forest around the bottom. A very good 2-0 victory as well at Goodison Park this time last year. As I said before, recent history has favoured us very, very well against Nottingham Forest. As I said before, 2 wins last season, the very, very cold one. And then obviously the one last season where the crucial relegation battle, VAR probably stole the headlines in that one. Marinakis' statement after the game saying that VAR was a Luton fan. A lot of us will hold quite fond memories and quite good memories as Evertonians beating Nottingham Forest in that one and moving us even further away from the relegation zone in that particular season. But yeah, as I said before, the head-to-head favours us quite well. So if we can take that sort of recent form against Nottingham Forest into this game and look to utilise it as a little bit of confidence, I think we can definitely do that. I do think those Nottingham Forest are a very, very good side. They've massively turned a corner this season under Nuno Espirito Santo. And as I said earlier in this video, it's going to be a very, very tough test at the City Ground. But as I said before, it's an opportunity to restart our unbeaten streak. But that moves us on quite nicely to my prediction for this one. And I'm weirdly optimistic. You'd be surprised. I think this is a very, very similar it's a very similar opportunity to the Brighton game under Sean Dyche, where we came away 5-1 winners. I think a team like Nottingham Forest that have so much on the plate in terms of fighting for Europe, I think they can sometimes catch up. These kind of games, they can catch up, and Everton under David Moyes, we have massively turned a corner. I think it's a massive opportunity for us. So my prediction is I'm going to go 2-1 Everton, and I'm going to go Beto and Dwight McNeil both on the score sheet in a 2-1 victory at the City Ground. That is my prediction. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the game on Saturday. Let me know your thoughts. Are you confident ahead of it? Let me know some predictions as well in the comments. But that is all from me today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.